With banks failing left and right these days, you may be wondering if it's time to yank your money out before it's too late. I'm here to show you 3 powerful ways to take control of your money and help you figure out which makes the most sense for you. Towards the end, I'll give you some info that Silicon Valley doesn't want you to know, so stay tuned. The first and simplest method for being your own bank is to withdraw physical cash from your current bank. I'm willing to bet that most of you already have some cash lying around the house or stuck inside of a wallet, but having some extra cash on hand has some serious benefits. If there's ever an emergency or the power's out while you're trying to buy anything at a store, you'll need cash in order to facilitate that transaction. Who knows, maybe that's why it's taking your dad so long to come home with milk. You won't be able to count on swiping a credit card in an emergency situation, so I like to keep a few weeks worth of expenses in cash just in case. If another East Palestine happens in my city or fires are rampaging through a nearby area and I need to escape quickly, having some cash on hand is always a good bet. Additionally, you get increased privacy when utilizing cash for transactions, which is a real rarity these days. Credit cards act like a centralized ledger to see every purchase that you make, but cash has no such record keeping unless the vendor themselves require it. Unfortunately though, this is kind of the end of the road for the usefulness for this method. The inconvenience of paying with cash is sizable, and you can't really walk down to your local Robinhood branch to put money into the stock market, for example. Cash is king, but physical cash is bulky, difficult to use in daily life, and needs to be funneled through a bank in order to be useful at most establishments. You can mail an envelope of cash to pay for services, but you might get put on a list for doing so. Cash also has the unique property of inflation, and because you're not earning interest on this physical cash from having it invested in a money market fund or a high yield savings account, you're actively losing value. The next method is more insulated to that issue because you can't simply print more of it when you need some. Precious metals have to be mined out of the earth, and they don't exist in high quantities. They've been used as currency for millennia and are also shiny and fun to look at. Metals like gold and silver hold value really well over the long term, but they typically don't appreciate very much. They tend to keep pace with inflation, but outpace whenever the demand is higher for them in times of crisis. This means that unlike physical cash, you don't really have to worry about it dropping in value over the long term. With a little bit of this in your safe, you can ensure that you'll always have something that you can trade back in for money at a later date if you need to do so. Precious metals are far more difficult to work with than physical cash, however. For starters, unless we're in some kind of post-apocalyptic scenario, vendors aren't typically going to be accepting gold and silver in exchange for goods or services. You'll need to take it to a pawn shop or a store that specializes in these types of items and exchange it for cash. This makes it even less convenient to work with than cash unless you're able to find a buddy or a vendor who's willing to make that exchange with you. And with gold, the denominations that you'd want to trade in make it very difficult to exchange for something like groceries or gas. Our last method is the most capable, yet most risky. Holding crypto in what's called a hardware wallet is one of the safest ways to keep custody of your cryptocurrency. Using a device like this Trezor or Ledger, you can store unlimited amounts of crypto in a small, secure package and access it via any computer. They're about the size of a thumb drive and so can fit easily in your pocket, unlike large amounts of the other 2 methods that we've mentioned prior.
They convert some of it to Bitcoin and they put it in cold storage because they know that they take volatility risk in the underlying asset class, but they're not taking kind of bank or custodian risk.
Bitcoin is the de facto cryptocurrency for locking away in a cold storage hardware wallet, but there are plenty of options if you want to diversify your holdings. You can even enroll in decentralized lending programs, staking initiatives, and more to earn a passive return on your crypto, all from the comfort of your own wallet. But with great power comes great responsibility, so they say. Unfortunately, it's very easy for your cryptocurrency to be stolen out from under you without your knowledge. All it takes is one wrong signature from something you thought was an innocent transaction to steal the entire contents of your wallet away from you. Even if you're an expert, you can be taken by these kind of ruses, so it's important for you to have multiple layers of security and separate wallets if you're going to engage in this kind of activity. Because crypto doesn't really have any insured secure banks like the traditional finance world, the only real way to keep your cryptocurrency safe is to do so yourself with a wallet. There are hundreds of different crypto wallets to choose from, and you don't need a hardware wallet to get started. You can use your phone or even your browser to store cryptocurrency. I'll be making a comprehensive overview of different wallet types and how to use them in an upcoming video soon, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. If you need direction here, feel free to join my private Discord, link in the description, and I'll help you personally. Cryptocurrency has the most volatility risk of the three methods that we've discussed, but if you think multiple banks are about to go under, then it may be worth that risk. In the event of something like hyperinflation of your local currency, then crypto can certainly be a much better globalized alternative. The problem is that people still have to want crypto once you get to the other side of this currency collapse, and unless it's something local and not some kind of disaster, I mean, you may be out of luck. This leads nicely into the downsides of becoming your own bank, and I'll let Scott summarize this one here.
You can't find a person whose deposits in a U.S. bank they lost. So the downside here might be some inconvenience or people on Twitter or alarmists screaming, but the data shows that you don't need to panic.
If there are literally zero banks left for you to withdraw money from, you've probably got bigger issues than worrying about getting those deposits back. Even with the recent collapses, we have no reason to believe that the government won't ensure that all depositors are made whole, even above the $250,000 FDIC insurance limit. If you're worried and have more than $250K at one bank, just open an account at another bank and move some money over there. It's simple, convenient, and banks have insurance for precisely this reason. So if you are going to keep money in your home, you're going to need one of these. A fireproof safe. In the event of a house fire, you'll lose everything if you keep your money under your mattress. I pity the fool who has to try and find melted gold in the remains of a house fire. You can also keep important documents in there, like passports, visas, birth certificates, and etc. And so if you don't have one of these, you should really consider getting it just for that reason. Now, what Silicon Valley doesn't want you to know is that they may be fanning the fires a little bit, so to speak, here to drive more retail investment into cryptocurrency.
It comes out that some venture capital firms were not in a hurry to slow the panic because their incentive is to have chaos. Specifically chaos in the banking sector and a lack of faith in our institutions or in the dollar, which plays right into the hands of the kind of Web3 investments they've made. And it's just sort of discouraging if that comes out, and I'd have no evidence, but if that were to come out, it would be, I think, another black eye for Silicon Valley. Because
these bank collapses directly benefit people who are large holders of crypto because the price goes up as more people are driven away from the banking system and flocking to the safety that cryptocurrency provides by not having a centralized banking system. I'm not trying to make the argument that you need to stay away from cryptocurrency if you like America. If you've seen my channel before, you'll know that I have sizable crypto holdings in blockchain gaming, which is a sector that I'm personally really hopeful for. But the problem is that either millions of Americans will be tricked into being exit liquidity for the super rich, or they'll be right and America will fail. I'd prefer not to see either of those things come to fruition. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about this as it's already in motion. Just be mindful of the vested interests of those in power. Which of these three methods is right for you really depends on your circumstances, your wealth, your beliefs, and so I can't give you a concise answer here, and I will never give you financial advice. What I do is a combination of small denominations of all three of these methods. Each have their own benefits in an emergency, and if, for example, one of my banks collapsed overnight and I needed to pay my bills, at least I'd be capable of doing so. But there's also a lot of added responsibility and lost convenience when doing so just make sure to weigh that when you make your decisions. To make sure you don't leave anything on the table with the power of cryptocurrency and passive investing, check out this video on screen now. I go over the passive income that I make from Web3 gaming, which you can emulate from the comfort of your own home. Thanks, I'll catch you in the next one.